Remember this? Let's try something better. This video is sponsored by World of Warships, a free-to-play naval battle MMO on PC and consoles that lets you command a large fleet of ships in either PvP or PvE battles. They are modeled with high detail and accuracy in mind based on historical documents and blueprints. You know, the more effort it takes to make something, the more fun it is to destroy. Humans are strange creatures. I mean, which other species would try to set each other on fire while floating on water? Speaking of water, the weather effects and waves are impressively realistic, and the explosions and other particle effects kick stern? There are over 500 ships from 4 classes: cruisers, battleships, destroyers, and aircraft carriers. The devs keep adding more content every month. There was even a Transformers and Megadeth update, if Warships aren't metal enough yet. The game has an active community with plenty of Discord and forum discussions, streams, and tournaments. Since early October, there has also been a Captain's Club where active players can get discounts and offers from Razer and other partners. Check out World of Warships through the link in the description and use the promo code BRAVO for a starter pack with a ship, 1.5 million credits, 500 doubloons, and 7 days of premium account time. If you live in Texas, you'd probably scratch your head at the notion that knuckle dusters could possibly be banned, but they are in a number of countries. Well, looking into it, apparently the land of the free is not as free when it comes to knuckle dusters. Possession is banned in quite a few states, and they're generally defined as made of metal and having finger holes. The legal definition, at least in Canada, is very specific about the material, which is why knuckle dusters made of plastic, wood, or even stone, anything other than metal, are perfectly legal. Now this is not a knuckle duster, or brass knuckles or whatever. Not made of brass or any other metal, doesn't have finger holes, so it's not. Yet, that doesn't make it worse. In fact, it makes it better, in my opinion. By the way, before you get excited and want to make or buy your own non-metal knuckle duster, be sure to check your local law and be aware that just because something is legal to own doesn't automatically mean it's legal to carry in public. I know, disclaimers are tedious, but if I don't do it, YouTube or some trashy tabloid might come after me for promoting violence and dangerous weapons and all of that. So this is just for entertainment. I do not encourage, condone, or promote violence in any way. All right, this guy here is a reasonably realistic skull analog. They're never perfect. Even if you literally made it out of real bone, the problem is that dead bone is harder than living bone because it calcifies. And this guy is a little bit more solid. The lower jaw is technically a separate piece, but it doesn't really move. If I want to punch this guy, of course I got to make sure that I hit him right with the top 2 knuckles and that my wrist is aligned properly. Karate chop to the skull. This is how you split the head in half. By the way, the wiggle is on purpose. I want him to move because a real person is not welded to the ground and totally stiff. I mean, with muscle tension, you might be more rigid than this, but either way, so there's definitely a limit to how hard you want to punch, like this, you know, which is actually not really a bad thing as such, because, you know, overcommitting with like a big haymaker that misses and leaves you wide open is not a good idea anyway. And that's the point that's been made about metal knuckle dusters. They are likely to hurt your hand if you punch too hard, but on the upside, it means you can throw really light jabs and they're still gonna hurt. I just noticed a downside of fighting in a hoodie. Every time I punch, the drawstring is whipping me across the eyes. So straight from the front into the teeth, it'll beat up your knuckles. With this, I'm making dents in the wood. I'd rather the wood be dented than my bones. Here, check that out. I broke his teeth. In fact, I can take them off. Hey buddy, I fixed your buck teeth by removing them. I'm just gonna put those back and pretend like nothing happened, all right? The other ones are loose too. And of course this will be a cut. Yeah, yep, you're fine. Super glue, you'll be fine. I'm awfully tempted to hit him a lot harder, but I've got other tests planned with his head, so I don't really want to damage it, other than cosmetic damage, like missing teeth. I really do want to try a hook though, at least once, like 50% power, something like that. So shouldn't really wreck him. I'm just curious. That did hurt the palm of my hand, but not a whole lot. I'm pretty sure he'd be in more pain. Cut him open here, but didn't break the... Oh. Never mind, I did break the bone. Oh, crunch. I don't know how well you can see this, but you might be able to hear it. Yeah, that is shattered and mushy. Something I haven't seen done to knuckle dusters is some kind of shock reduction. So I've glued EVA foam to this handle to see if that makes a difference. And wrapped it in grip tape. So, seems pretty comfortable, as it is. And here we've got some rotted wood. So it's not as hard. So let's see how this works with the added padding. Okay, quite well. Yeah, makes a difference. There are plenty of dead rotting trees around here, so good targets. Yeah, it's not too bad, but I can hit it a little bit harder without risk of injury. There's no free lunch in physics after all, so whatever force I put in also travels right back, so I have to absorb that, which is generally a problem with bare knuckle fighting. You know, in boxing you have the wraps and then some big gloves that absorb a lot, so you can put way more power into it. I'm not an MMA fighter. I know the basics of how to throw a punch and put your body weight into it, but my technique could use a lot of improvement, obviously, and I'm not in good shape right now. So you could punch way harder, but would you want to? Not really. Definitely not like this, but even with some sort of implement, there's a limit to just how hard you want to punch, because yeah, you're gonna have to absorb that. But at the same time, you also don't need to punch as hard, because you know, you have a bit of a force multiplier. You know, this is more solid than the finger bones, because they're not a solid mass. You know, if all the finger bones were fused together, you wouldn't be able to move your hand, but now you would have something way more solid to punch with. But this is kind of a crutch. Because I've made this of oak wood and lacquered it, it's holding up pretty well. Again, this is rotted soft wood, so not that hard, but it's not like bones are made of metal or adamantium or whatever. I also made the classic design of foam, so that it's so squishy and soft that you couldn't possibly hurt anyone with it. Maybe except people are so thin-skinned that they want to see everything banned that's even remotely dangerous. Anyway, so this design looks cool, but is not very good. So for one, the way they're traditionally made is like this. So each hole is about the same size and they're symmetrical. Now, the problem is the hand is not symmetrical. So the fingers don't really fit in all that well, because you see like the little finger is a little bit out of alignment compared to the rest. And now it separates the fingers. You really don't want the fingers to be spread. There's no reason for that. It makes your fist weaker. There are some good things about this design. For one, it's nice and compact. You know, fits in the pocket. That's of course the idea. And with the finger rings, you can't really lose it or be disarmed, right? Like this is not really coming out of your hand. Now the downside is your fingers are trapped in here. So now, basically, there is a finger breaking lever. Just imagine someone gets a hold of this and twists. Your fingers will be seriously messed up. Now, how likely is that? Not very, because you've got it in your fist, right? But even so, even if they grab your fist on the outside, this is a little bit more to get a hold of. Sure, your hand can be grabbed too, but now you can't move your hand. How easily is this coming out of the hand? Not very. Like you can let go and this is still gonna dangle there for the most part, right? If somebody wants to try to use this against you, this is not as easy. Like, okay, there comes a point where the fingers get a little squished, but worst case scenario, they slip out. It's not good to lose the weapon in a fight, but it's better than getting your fingers broken, in my opinion. I made this larger, for one, because it's just wood rather than metal, but also because it's not going to beat up your hand quite as much. Now, I should have made this thicker than this. It's just, that's the piece I had to work with. In fact, ideally, you would want this to be tapered, because you want it to be thicker here so that it doesn't concentrate as much force into your hand, and thinner there so it concentrates more force into the target, right? But the way it is, it's pretty decent. I've seen some knuckle dusters made of metal that are quite thin, which is really not what you want. For the basic shape of the handle, I actually took inspiration from an Indian Qatar, which has this kind of palm swell. Now, the idea behind that is that this way you're better able to resist any force that wants to shift it in your hand. The other thing is, with a design like this, you can't hurt your fingers. Maybe I shouldn't say that. Some people seem to have an almost mystical ability to find ways to hurt themselves with things, or even without things. With the traditional design, you can very well do it wrong. If you put your fingers all the way through and hold it like this, and then punch something, and it gets pushed down by the impact, yeah, this can be very bad for your fingers. Not in this case, because it's squishy foam. But here, it doesn't matter how ineptly you hold it. I mean, you could still hurt the base of your thumb if you did it like this. And you know, with a limp wrist and all, there's still plenty of ways to hurt yourself, don't get me wrong, but at least that is not a factor. Don't forget to try out World of Warships with the promo code BRAVO for a nice starter pack. Alright, so that's what I think of Knuckles. Let me know what you think. Feel free to tell me that I'm wrong about everything. One more thing I want to say is I don't consider knuckle dusters to be amazing self-defense tools. They're not terrible, at least if you get the type that won't hurt you, and if you know how to use them, and that's of course a big part of it. Like, it's just enhanced bare knuckle fighting. You know, if you don't know how to throw a punch bare knuckle, then you're not going to do very well with these. You're better off with pepper spray at that point, if it's legal where you live. Some places even ban pepper spray for self-defense, which I find absolutely ridiculous, but whatever. Let's leave it at that. Hope you found this interesting and entertaining. Thanks for watching, and take care, folks.